Hello everyone, it's Evelyn. Thank you for joining me on my channel today. I'm glad you're here and I hope you're doing amazing. All is well over here. I just took a bit of a break last week because I've got a lot going on at home. But I also have a lot going on with the doll collection. We've got tons of customizations coming up, including the one here in today's video. So today I am going to be transforming my new Cinderella doll into a mini me. The main reason I am doing this is because Cinderella has as close to my skin tone as I think an American Girl doll could get. I am very translucent, very pale, and Cinderella has a very pale skin tone. She has a unique skin tone and I was so excited to see it. When I saw her, I knew she was coming home to become my mini me doll. Ever since I can remember, I've always wanted a doll that looks like me, and that's mainly because the doll that was supposed to look like me, Kirsten, did not actually look anything like me. Yes, I was a blonde hair, blue-eyed little girl, but those blue eyes morphed into more of a light hazel and greenish color, and my hair got a lot darker as I've aged. So in the interim, I have had a McKenna doll with Marie Grace eyes standing in as a mini me in my collection. However, she's just not been quite right because her skin is way darker than mine, so she's just kind of me, but not really. Again, once I saw Cinderella, I knew that that skin tone had to get into my collection so that I could make an actual mini me doll. So here's what we're working with. As you can see, here is me tucked behind my old mini me doll, the McKenna Custom, and here are my eyes up against the three in my collection that I was thinking of using. As you can see, my eyes are a little bit tricky because they don't quite match any of these. On the top, you can see them next to Marie Grace's eyes. In the middle, there they are next to Leah's. And on the bottom, there they are next to Caroline's. Now, I had put a poll out on my Instagram to see what you guys thought. And overwhelmingly, you all thought Leah's eyes were the best match. But after talking with my husband and daughter, they thought that Leah's eyes were definitely way too green and too dark and didn't really remind them of me as much as the other two did. So I went with the second choice, which was Caroline's. I feel like they capture kind of the aqua color of my eyes with the darker rim, although they're not quite as detailed and they don't have that bit of brown like the Leah eyes do. But I do think that they work a bit better than the Marie Grace eyes, and I'm really excited to show you what the Cinderella doll looks like with these eyes in. So first I need to take her head off so I can remove her eyes and her wig. To do that, I just snip this little bitty piece of thread up by her neck and chop that zip tie right on out. I pull her head off and get it filled with some boiling water. Once that water has been poured out and her face is nice and squishy, I am going to pop her eyes right on out. Now, this is not an eye swap tutorial, and honestly, you probably shouldn't do this. I have been told by many of you that I'm kind of an anomaly in that I pop the eyes out with my bare hands and not some sort of wooden spoon, but I don't know, this is just what I find the easiest to do. So her eyes are out and now I need to get the wig off. So I did not film getting this entire wig off because I needed to keep it perfect and intact for the person who was buying it. So I didn't film that entire thing, but here it is off and now it has been shipped to its new owner. So here she is with no eyes and no hair, ready for her makeover. So the first thing I try to do is put in the Caroline eyes, and normally I can just pop eyes in, not like without any issue, of course. It's actually pretty hard to do, but I don't usually have this much trouble. So as you can see here, I am really trying to get those eyes in, but I am not successful. And this was not my only attempt. I tried multiple times, and I wanted them to get in while the head was still hot. So I had to get some help. So here is me putting in eyes on another doll. So as you can see, I kind of just strong arm it and then they just pop in. It's not that easy every single time, but I normally don't have this much trouble. So I hired my husband to help me. He actually usually pops them in much easier than I do. He has these massive hands that are very useful when it comes to eye swapping. So I had him help me. I was honestly really nervous about this. Since I had chosen the Caroline eyes, I was just feeling the most nervous that I'd ever felt during an eye swap before, because if we ruined these were the only Caroline eyes that I had, and I just didn't want to mess them up. I didn't want to have to pay for new ones. I mean, really, we could have used Marie Grace eyes, but I had my eyes set on this and I did not want to, I had my mind set on this and I didn't want to ruin my Caroline for nothing. So here he is. He's got the eyes in, but once you get the eyes in, you have to do a lot of finagling, because obviously they don't go in straight unless you get really lucky. And once they're in, fiddling with them is your best bet. So he is using rubber tipped tweezers to adjust the eyes, and what we tend to do is kind of adjust that metal piece. I don't know. I feel like when I do eye swaps on Josefina molds, the eyes just never quite seem right. They almost seem like a little bit too deep, but I don't know. I think the new Josefina molds in general just kind of lead to more wonky eyes. They come like that straight from the factory now. And I don't know. It's just something I've noticed. It's hard. Eye swapping is hard. I'm so lucky that my husband came to help me with this one. I was just so nervous, and I mean, for good reason, but he just does such a good job, and I'm very, very grateful. And not only that, but I mean, we have scratched eyes before. We are not perfect at what we're doing, but I really love the way that these eyes look in her. As soon as I saw the eyes in, it got me super excited to keep going with this project. So next up is painting her lips. And spoiler alert, this is like one of the trickiest parts for me. I normally don't really have an issue redoing lips. So I was like, okay, I'm just going to take this terracotta color and I'll go over this pink color, and it's gonna make like a nice lip color. I won't have to do much, but I'll get rid of that pink that exists right there. Unfortunately, when I did this, it just ended up looking too much like a coral. It didn't look like anything I would put on my lips. It didn't look like my natural lip color, nor what I would normally put on. I'm more of like sometimes I'll do coral, of course, but I'm more of like a dusty rose lip color kind of gal. This just didn't really look very good. So I kept it in here so you could watch it and see what it looks like, but this does not stay. What I end up having to do is take off the lip paint. And again, this made me super nervous. Like the whole time I was pretty nervous with all of this, but I knew that my best bet would probably be to get the original shape off. So I took some acetone and I just went for it and got that original paint off. That way I could redo them. And honestly, this is probably what I'll end up doing to Tiana. If you saw my video on redoing her lip paint, I basically went over her existing paint, but I am definitely going to just redo hers entirely too. But, and this is a big but, even at the end of this video, I'm still not entirely happy with the lips. So I chose this dusty rose mauve color because that's like my lips. That's what I wear. It reminds me the most of me, if that makes any sense. So I really love the way that the color turned on these, but I had to fiddle with the lip shape so so much. Like, I did these and redid them and did these and redid them, and I just couldn't get the opacity how I wanted it to. There are brush strokes everywhere. I don't know. The end result, I'm not incredibly happy with. It's not perfect by any means, but it'll do for now. One thing that I really wanted to do is make the lips just a little bit fuller. I do have pretty full lips, and that's something that I actually don't mind about myself. Like, I actually like that feature. So I wanted to make sure to include that here on the mini me doll that I was creating. So here's kind of what they're looking like. I can't get the opacity quite right. I did go ahead and add some blush as well, which I guess I didn't get a video of. A lot of the time when I was videoing this stuff, I kept going out of the camera frame, which was really disappointing. I apologize for that. I'm not a professional at this yet. And that was a mistake I made while filming this. But you still can get a pretty good idea of what I'm doing. So here I am taking, I don't actually know what this is called. It's like a silicone tipped thingy. Kaylee, my friend Kaylee, AG Star 91, suggested these for freckles. So I grabbed those. I'll put the link in the description box for you. But I'm using some brown watercolor paint, and I'm trying to mimic my own freckling. So I have like a huge freckle on one side of my face. I have a very large freckle on my chin and a pretty large freckle kind of like in the middle of the other cheek. And then below my eyes, I have some very subtle freckling. They're like very light. They're not darker brown like the rest. So that's what I'm trying to replicate here. I also have very, very pink cheeks. I have a skin condition called rosacea and a skin condition called keratosis pilaris, which means that I am a very, very rosy person. So I made sure that I put tons of blush. Basically what I did is I just took my lip color, added a little bit more floating medium to it. So it was a little bit more, I guess, less opaque. Yeah, that's the word I'm going for. And I just swirled that around on my cheeks. So what I'm doing here is I'm taking the watercolor paint, dabbing it on or putting it on, and then dabbing my finger and just creating these little very subtle freckling underneath my eyes. I do, like I said, I have this in real life, but this isn't exact like freckle for freckle, my freckle pattern, but it looks very close. I have freckles kind of all over my body, but not, my whole face isn't covered, but they're definitely there. So I wanted to make sure to get that right so she looked like me, and I think it turned out okay. I'm not mad at it. I don't know if I'm going to seal it quite yet the way it is, because I still feel like this brown is just not quite right on the bigger freckles, but it's pretty good for me being kind of a newbie. Okay, so for my wig, I picked this Leah wig that I took off of a TLC Leah. Here she is. You may have seen that video if you've been subscribed to me for a while. This wig started out as a hot mess. So in that video, I brushed it. But what I ended up doing here is I actually did a boil wash on this wig to get it nice and straight, and also kind of a little not straight, but not wavy anymore. So it took the wave out. I didn't want to use a straightener, and it turned out really well. It looks a lot like my hair, and I am very pleased that I had this wig laying around. It works out so well. Here it is at the back. You can see that her waves are mostly gone, but there's still a little bit of something. It's not entirely straight. So here is what my mini me is looking like now. I am honestly not very happy with her lips, but other than that, I'm happy with her. I was going to redo the brows, but honestly, I'm terrified. I tried using a colored pencil on the back of her head. I tried using paint. Nothing looked good. So I was like, I'm just going to deal with these hideous Cinderella brows for now. So that's how she's looking. Here is mini me. Name suggestions welcome. I was thinking, I don't know, something like Eve or Evelina, or would that be too weird? My previous mini me, I didn't name anything close to my name. So definitely let me know some suggestions below. But here she is before and after. So here is Cinderella and here is mini me. Like I said, I'm pretty pleased with how she turned out. She definitely looks so much more like me than my previous mini me, and I'm thrilled with that. But I think that her lips could use some work, and I would really love to learn how to redo her eyebrows. So let me know any suggestions you might have in the comments below for her names or ways that I could do her eyebrows. Thank you guys so much for being here and watching. It means a lot to me. I hope that you enjoyed. I have more customizing content coming up for you soon. And until then, be sure to take care of yourselves. Bye, guys.